Radhe. And Jaya Radha Govinda Shri Radhe. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Stotar Shata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Stotar Shata Shri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakunda Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Mathura Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Yamuna Mai Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapadakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Scha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunantam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha E Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanustute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Padaya Namastistam Manuapi Sachiputra Mata Srupam Tasya Gajamaru Pirum Matarim Gostavatim Radhakundam Girivadam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnana Tarayandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshurun Meditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Maitreya Uvacha. This is chapter 10, text 1, continuing with Srimad Bhagavatam. Is it 1 and 2 today or just text 1? Does anyone know? Look, there is a purport for 1. Okay. Thank you, Prabhu. Okay. Canto 4, chapter 10, text 1 and 2. Maitreya Uvacha. Prajapatihi Duhitaram Shishumarasya Vai Dhruvaha Upayame Brahmim Nama Tatsuto kalpa vatsaro Maitreya uvacha Prajapitir duhitaram Prajapitir duhitaram Shishmu marasya vaidhravaha Shishmu marasya vaidhravaha Upayemi brahmim nama Upayemi brahmim nama Tatsuto kalpavatsatro Maitreya uvacha Prajapatir dahitaram Shishu marasya vaidhravaha Upayemi brahmim nama Tatsuto kalpavatsaro Maitreya uvacha Prajapatir duhitaram Shishu marasya vaidhravaha Upayemi brahmim nama Tatsuto kalpavatsaro. Devotees, Maitreya uvacha Prajapate dahitaram Shishumarasya vaidurvaha Upayame brahmim nama Tatsuto kalpavatsaro. Maitreya uvacha Prajapate dahitaram Sadharvaidurvaha Upayame brahmim nama Tatsuto kalpavatsaro. Maitreya uvacha Prajapate dahitaram Shishumarasya vaidurvaha Upayame brahmim nama Tatsuto kalpavatsaro. Anyone else? Maitreya uvacha Prajapate dahitaram Shishumarasya vaidurvaha Upayame brahmim nama Tatsuto kalpavatsaro. Maitreya uvacha. The great sage Maitreya continued, Prajapatihi, of the Prajapati, Duhitaram, daughter, Shishumarasya, of Shishumar, Vai, certainly, Dhruvaha, Dhruva Maharaj, Upayemi, married, Brahmim, Brahmi, Nama, named, Tat Suto, her sons, Kalpa, Kalpa, Vatsaro, Vatsara. Translation and purport given by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The great sage Maitreya said, My dear Vidura, thereafter Dhruva Maharaj married the daughter of Prajapati Shishumar, whose name was Brahmi, and two sons named Kalpa and Vatsara were born of her. Purport. It appears that Dhruva Maharaj married after being installed on the throne of his father and after the departure of his father to the forest for self-realization. It is very important to note in this connection that since Maharaj Uttanapad was greatly affectionate toward his son, and since it is the duty of a father to get his sons and daughters married as quickly as possible, why did he not get his sons married before he left home? The answer is that Maharaj Uttanapad was a Rajarshi, saintly king. Although he was busy in his political affairs and duties of government management, he was very anxious for self-realization. Therefore, as soon as his son Dhruva Maharaj was quite worthy to take charge of his government, he took this opportunity to leave home, just like his son who, without fear, left home for self-realization, even at the age of 5 years. These are rare instances from which we can see that the importance of spiritual realization is above all other important work. Maharaj Uttanapad knew very well that to get his son Dhruva Maharaj married was not so important, that it should take preference to his going away to the forest for self-realization. And text 2 reads, Alayam api bharyayam vayo putyam mahabalaha putram ukalanam nam yoshidradham ajityanat. The greatly powerful Dhruva Maharaj had another wife named Ila, who was the daughter of the demigod Vayu. By her he begot a son named Utkala and a very beautiful daughter. Hare Krishna. Thank you everyone for being here this morning. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is highlighting that the question is being raised, why didn't King Uttanapad get his son married before he went off to the forest, before he left home? So it's noted that it's the duty of especially a king to get his son married before leaving to do anything, or it's the primary business to get the son married. It's the parent's duty. It's given in the Dharmic Shastras that this is the case. And so the question is being posed here, why is he not following Dharma and he didn't get his son married and he left home? So the question is being answered that Maharaj Uttanapad was a very saintly Rajarishi, or Rajarshi. So he knew the importance of self-realization over the Dharma Shastras. So there's different Shastras given in the Vedas, different instructions for different classes of people. And these Dharma Shastras deal mostly in what is good and what is the duty of man, the average man. And one of the duties given in these Shastras is to get your children married. That's one of the duties of a father. But here, the example is being given so we can understand that there are higher principles than only the Dharmic Shastras to be followed. So the different Shastras, they deal with 4 things mostly: Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. And it's said that moksha is more important than these other things. These other things are just to get the life experience to realize, so you can move past these things and achieve liberation. So Maharaj, he was setting a very good example for all of the people in his kingdom here. He's setting the example that self-realization should take precedence over the Dharmic Shastras saying to get your son married. So he was setting the example so all of the citizens under his rule would follow suit. And I was reflecting that there's some different examples given in the Bhagavatam of great saintly persons setting such an example. And I was reflecting on how Bharat Maharaj did a very similar thing, where he left at a pretty young age and for self-realization rather than getting married. He was the emperor of the world as well, and he left. So here's another great Rajarshi, saintly king, setting an example for his citizens to follow, that Dharma is not the end goal of life. So Uttanapad, he wasn't completely irresponsible in not having Dhruva Maharaj married. He appointed him king before he left for the forest, so it wasn't that he was, completely neglecting his duty. He still appointed his son the kingly position, but his son left. So he wasn't neglecting all of his kingly duties, but he was setting a great example for us to follow. So he installed Dhruva Maharaj, and then Dhruva Maharaj thereafter decided to leave for self-realization at a very, very young age, at the age of 5. So this is because he could realize from already executing his dharma and the proper duty and having previous spiritual merit, he could realize that this life, this human form of life, it is actually meant for God realization, self-realization, and austerity. So he was realizing this is much more important than just sticking around, getting married, and living a life of kingly opulence amongst the people I rule over. So this is a very nice example Dhruva Maharaj is setting on how self-realization is the topmost thing that we should aspire for in this life. So Krishna says, above all other dharmic duties, right? He says, Triguna Vishaya Veda Nashri Guna Bhavarjuna Navardana Nitya Sattva Stito Niryoga Kshema Atmavan. The Vedas deal with the 3 modes of material nature, O Arjuna. Rise above these 3 modes to a state of pure spiritual consciousness, freeing oneself from dualities, eternally fixed in truth, and without concern for material gain, and safely be situated in the self. So here, one of the main instructions that Krishna is actually giving in Bhagavad Gita, you should rise above these 3 modes, because they're dealing with Dharma, Artha, and Kama. So we should not forget to move past just Dharma, just doing things out of dutiful obligation. We should move into doing our duty, but doing it with love. And then what is topmost, Krishna says, is to just do everything for him completely. We see even the best devotees of Krishna completely disregard their societal obligations and the societal norms, and they forget everything that is their duty, and they just surrender straight unto Krishna. So this is the topmost platform that Krishna is suggesting. He gives somebody many different, he gives the tailored experience of self-realization. It's not just you do this or you eternally go to hell. He very much tailors the experience to fit it to where we're at and our capability. This is because he's most merciful. And he wants us especially to come back to him. So he's giving us an experience of how to elevate our consciousness and eventually come to him. And he doesn't say just stay and do your dharma for the rest of your life. He says eventually you have to move past that, and you have to start moving into renouncing your dharma, and you have to move into the renounced stage of life. So virtually, we don't see this so much in this world anymore. Amongst this ISKCON society, there is the Vanaprastha ashram, but even amongst the society of the Brahmanas who are practicing this Vedic standard of living, we're not seeing so much the devotees taking Vanaprastha. But this ashram is there for a reason. The goal of life is not to stay with your partner and stay engaged in your working duties until the day you die. It's simply not the case. You're to do your duty and do what you're inclined to do. Do it for Krishna. But if you do take to the Grihastha ashram and take to a working life, the goal to have that wife and have that job is to cultivate some detachment over the lifetime. So it's said that one takes a wife and takes to a job because he still has some lingering attachments in the world, and it's most suited for his current position to serve Krishna in that way. But we should use this as a vehicle to free ourselves from this bondage of attachments, not to further entangle ourselves into it, to keep ourselves fixed here in this material world, because that will ultimately be the destination. So this Vanaprastha ashram is given for a very specific reason, and it is encouraged for the devotees to take this up, to go beyond just the dharmic shastras, and to do everything for Krishna. Use this life to get to the point where we can do everything for Krishna. So that is the most important duty to do, as given in Bhagavad Gita, and it should take precedence over everything else. So this is a nice example that Dhruva Maharaj is giving, and we can learn from this. There's also the example of Rishabdev. Rishabdev, he also gave a very similar example. He had so many sons, yet he instructed them not to just do their duty, but to become saintly persons. And he preached to them that this material world, that everyone is just trying to more or less make themselves comfortable in this material situation, but it's a place of suffering. It's a place of uncomfortability. So we shouldn't waste our time only worrying about the comforts of this body. We should go beyond that. Because that happiness that is just in relation to this body, it is also available for the hogs, dogs, and cats. Very, very much easily available for them too. So if it's available for them, then how are we any better than them if we're just spending all of our time pursuing those comforts? A very similar example given. He instructed his sons on the basis of self-realization, not just doing your duty. So without Prabhupada coming and emphasizing this Varnashram Dharma, then we would really have no idea what to do in the West. Moksha is not really stressed in the West. In much of the other world, away from Bharatvarsh, away from India, before he came over, about 60 years ago now. So we're incredibly indebted to Srila Prabhupada for showing us this way. We only knew about Dharma, Artha, and Kama. That's all we knew. We only knew, that's it. When the settlers, when they first came over to America from Europe, it was the law that you had to go to church and that you had to worship God. It was just part of the law. They say that this country, it was created under God, but which it was at the time. But we've lost those values. At the time, imagine coming to a place that nobody has ever set foot. You're taking a lot of risk, and you can imagine there's a lot of austerity and a lot of distress, and a lot of you have to have some level of trust in things beyond yourself. So the people who came here first, they funded this country on the principle of God, actually, and remembering God and doing things for God. Give us our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespassed against us. So of forgiveness, Srimati Radharani, she is the queen of forgiveness. So the early settlers, they were praying like this for forgiveness and for their daily bread, for God to subside or to provide sustenance for them. And in a way, he absolutely did. The people, they were doing their dharma when they came. They were praying for their daily bread. They were all going to church communally and congregationally. And as a result of that dharma, then they were being given artha. They were then given resources and crops and money and building materials to make the society flourish. But it's only through dharma that they were given the artha. And then from the artha, when society flourished and they were getting money and they were getting prosperity, and the work had been done, then the spirit of kama comes, where they want to enjoy the fruits of everything. So this is a dangerous mentality, this kama, and we should move past it. That's what Krishna is advising in Bhagavad Gita. He's saying that this is a necessity to move past it. So we see that it's not that the artha came by itself or by man's own endeavor. It came because they were doing things for God in cultivating the country. They were doing their dharma. So we see sometimes two people, they might start the same kind of business. One person, they may think, I want to start a business for the perfect pillow company. And so he starts this elaborate pillow company, and he designs, the best pillow that money can buy. And the same man has the same idea. He goes through the same process, and he designs a very similar pillow, and they have the same business concept. They're advertising the same way, same basically product, but one of them is successful and one of them is not. One can say, well, why does this happen? They're both endeavoring the same way. Well, the man with success, he has successfully carried out his dharma in the past life. It is not that if somebody is working a job, it is not that when they go to work on Friday and they get their paycheck for the week that they are getting paid just for working that day Friday. No, they are getting the money that they are getting, it is coming from their previous work, from the previous week or weeks. So similarly, we can understand the man with the successful pillow business, he is successful only because he has carried out proper dharma in the past. And the one who is not successful, he hasn't yet carried that out. So the artha is not going to come, the kama is not going to come to be able to properly carry that business out. So this kama, it's dangerous. It's dangerous to get lost in. We see that every single society this happens to if they don't have proper leaders who can guide the people away from basically splundering off, like getting rid of all of the progress through selfish desires. This is how every society degrades itself. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Sri Bhagavanu Vacha, Kama Esha, Krodha Esha, Raja Guna Samad Bhavaha. Mahashano Mahapatma, Vidyanam Ihivarinam. Supreme Personality of Godhead says, it is lust only, Arjuna, which is born of contact with the material modes of passion and later transformed into wrath, and which is the all-devouring sinful enemy of this world. So lust, it's a devouring sinful enemy. The more we give into it, the more it will take. We need to be very careful of controlling this lust. And this is the process of bhakti yoga. Realizing that our senses are going crazy. They're going here and there all the time. There's the classic example, the cover of the Bhagavad Gita. The 5 horses are like the senses, and then there's the chariot. If Krishna is the chariot driver, then we will realize if we put him first, then the senses are automatically controlled. Krishna, he's Manana Mohan. He's the enchanter of Cupid. So Cupid, he has all of these arrows that he's always shooting of lust at all of the people, and they're being infected by his arrows of lust. But when he shoots these arrows our way, the only thing that can attract Cupid is Krishna. So naturally, the arrows, they don't have, the snake doesn't have poison anymore. The arrows, they don't hurt us anymore. The senses, the 5 senses, they no longer bring us away from our meditation if they're being used in Krishna consciousness. So the bhakti yoga process is not that of forcefully giving up all sense gratification like that of some of the other yogic processes. It is the process of engaging all of the senses rightfully in their proper constitutional position, which is in the service of Krishna. We're always disturbed because of these senses. We have these eyes in our head that we have to see through, and they're always lusting after looking at something attractive. And then as soon as they see something attractive, they don't want to give it up. They want to look more and more and again and again. Or this nose, it wants to smell something nice. And as soon as it does, it just wants to hanker and chase after smelling that thing again and again. Or the tongue is the most voracious of the different senses. It's very difficult to control the tongue. It's always engaged in speaking so much nonsense. It always wants to be moving around and enjoying and tasting nice palatable dishes. So rather than just tasting whatever the tongue wants to taste, and rather than just speaking whatever comes to our mind, we practice controlling it and speaking topics only related to Krishna and eating only Krishna prasadam. And relishing, wow, the Lord honored this food. Really relishing the pastime that was going on when Krishna was honoring this prasadam. And in this way, we derive much more bliss than just the fleeting, sensory, flickering happiness that comes from that which is found from the objects of the senses. So we have to be free from this lust, which is born of, it's from the senses wanting to hanker after all these sense objects. It's having a misunderstanding, mistaking happiness for temporary pleasure. And this is our position we find ourselves in the material world. So those who are free from anger and all material desires, Krishna says, who is self-realized, self-disciplined, and constantly endeavoring for perfection, are assured liberation. So the scientists often, these days, they're saying that we don't need liberation or we don't need God because we've become quite materially comfortable. And we trust ourselves more than we trust some idea of God, they say. And, this is atheism at its finest. These scientists coming into society and saying, don't trust God or the scriptures. We have a grip on nature, so what is the need to trust God or to trust nature? This is their attitude. They think we can conquer nature with our mind, but this is not the case. There was a like a conference of such people, big scientists and big professors, and the conference was entitled "Man Conquers Nature," and it was like a science conference, and there was all these big personalities speaking on how where science was going, and the next big thing on how man was going to conquer over nature, how science was going to prevail. And after about an hour and a half of these scientists meeting together, they said, okay, now we are going to take a bathroom break. So then they went and took a bathroom break, but it's like this break self-defeated their whole reason to have the meeting. Like, they couldn't even hold their bowels long enough to conquer their own nature, yet they're saying man conquers over nature. So this is the foolish position of the scientists. They're always very, very puffed up and thinking that they know better, but they're constantly being proved wrong by Krishna. So the problem is we can see that has happened to these scientists, and why they have become puffed up is because they have become materially affluent. They haven't been getting constantly slapped and slapped and slapped every endeavor they make to try to prevail. They're actually having some little success in their endeavor to make some scientific discovery. So the problem is when this happens, or when society starts to become more affluent, they forget all about God and they think themselves to be God. So they think that this is all coming automatically and they don't need God and they forget Him. So every time this happens, the society, it starts to become more and more degraded. So we see whenever there's wealthy people, they got that wealth from doing their dharma, and then Kama came, they had family, and then the sons, the wealth is already there in the family. So the son, he was already born with affluence, so naturally he doesn't do his dharmic duty. And then he becomes degraded. He just thinks, when he's born in a wealthy family, he thinks, well, everything's already provided for me. So he doesn't have much of a work ethic even. And he just thinks everything is supposed to be provided. And then he succumbs to just a lusty life, or a life of pleasure, because he's already being given all of these facilities to enjoy. And that's what he's given. And then he becomes degraded. So this happens time and time again. He becomes corrupt. And then nobody at that point is performing dharma anymore. So Krishna, he's giving many, many paths to realization. And this system that Prabhupada gave us, it is a system to achieve higher states of consciousness, this varnashram dharma. It is not that just somebody with an act for great austerity, or somebody with a great act for knowledge can achieve self-realization. It's not that this process is just for the jnanis or just for the yogis. In fact, bhakti yoga, it pertains to all kinds of people. Whatever you find yourself, whatever your nature, you can engage that in the service of Krishna. So Prabhupada, he gave us the highest thing to liberate all of society. It's not that he only gave us a yogic system only for the people who were inclined to sit and control all of their senses and shut out all of the doors, all of the sense opportunities, and just try to focus on nothing. This is impossible this day and age. You just can't do it. You can't go to the forest and just try to control yourself through your own merit. It is not possible. In fact, before coming to Krishna consciousness, this is what I tried to do. I was studying the different yogic systems for over a decade before coming to Prabhupada's books and chanting Mahamantra. And I saw just this. I spent just under a year in the forest in Breckenridge, Colorado, freezing cold and very hot in the summer, doing different austerities, thinking that this is how I'm going to purify myself so I can realize God. But I found, no, it's not possible. The mind, it wanders simply too much. And every time the body has to do its duty, every time nature calls, you're brought out of the meditation. Every time you have to take food to upkeep your body, every few days, you're brought out of this meditation that the yogis are after. So this is a very, very fleeting state of consciousness even still, this impersonal sense of liberation or the Brahman realization that is described. It's very, very fleeting. Whereas this bhakti yoga, we can sustain our meditation in every part of our day. It's not like I'm just sitting down to meditate and that is the time I'm meditating. Many yogic teachers, they will give 20 minutes in the morning and 20 at night. You need to sit and meditate. But this is completely useless. Like, I'm only meditating when I'm thinking I'm meditating? What is the point? So the position I was finding in my early days of like being in the forest and practicing other forms of yoga was, yes, when I had to use the restroom or eat, I would be brought out of the meditation. So I'd try to push that off as long as I could. So I would try to go 3-4 days, try not to eat. I just became very weak and very, very skinny and just like kind of staying in one place and trying to meditate. But I saw it wasn't possible. And then the first time I honored Prasadam, it was very special. It was in Michigan, and there was a devotee. She was 7 years old, and she cooked a big feast for all the devotees. She cooked eggplant pakoras, and she cooked tomato chutney, and halava. I had halava for the first time. And I hadn't met devotees. I went to a center. I saw in the back of one of Prabhupada's books there were centers. And I was blown away because I was eating food and I wasn't being brought out of meditation. And it actually made me cry. I couldn't believe that there was such thing as you could still be eating and still sustain your meditation. It was really good news to me that that I didn't have to just try to suicide off of like as little as I possibly could. And then getting the opportunity to be in the Bhakti program under Danavir Maharaj, he was instructing all the bhaktas to take up to the neck like Prabhupada was instructing. So I went from like trying to do these austerities in the forest and then join the Bhakti program, and Guru Maharaj was saying, no, take 4 or 5 times a day, like it's good. Go out on Harinam, take prasad before and after. And in that way, it really helped me get off the bodily kind of platform. Because when you're doing all these stretches and all these breathing exercises and just like focused on the breath and like the body, it just makes you so much more bodily conscious before you kind of like get off the bodily platform. So a lot of times you see, if you go to do some preaching at like yogic circles, trying to encourage them to chant the holy name, you'll see like the people in the yogic circles, they're constantly moving around. If you're sitting with them, people who are very much into hatha yoga, they're constantly feeling like I have to like adjust something in the body because I'm not feeling right? So it's very prominent. I found this too, and I didn't notice it. But after some years of practicing and then going back trying to preach to the yogic circles, I was really noticing it. And it's true, like Guru Maharaj was saying, you need to stop doing these yogic exercises if you're going to come to my Bhakti program. And I was quite attached to them, doing many hours each morning of rigid like yogic exercises, and then here's this great saintly person I'm meeting. He's telling me just give it all up. Don't do these things you've been doing, that you've been thinking this is how you're going to purify yourself to realize God. So I trusted him and just like stopped doing all exercise. He said, you don't need exercise. You don't need yoga. Just you're healthy. You're a young man. Just take prasadam and do service. And that's what I did. And I saw this. Wow, this is how you actually get off of this bodily platform and get absorbed in your seva. So this is the medicine. This is in the beginning. It's a hard pill to swallow for a Mayavadi yogi like myself to meet such a personalist, such a nice saint telling you just give this up and serve Krishna. He's a person. But boy, is the medicine very, very palatable now, and I'm very happy I don't have to do all of these forceful processes anymore. It's a very natural process once you cover off the dust. It's very natural. So this is the process that Dhruva Maharaj is giving us. Go beyond our dharmic duty and go into doing everything for God and self-realization. So we have about 5 minutes or so left. Oh, it looks like 10 minutes. Maybe I speak a little more. Something. So the point is to become Atmaram, self-satisfied, not to become hankering. All of the so-called happiness that they're advertising in this material world, all it does when you pursue this happiness is it tricks the mind. It tricks the mind into mistaking that for real pleasure. And then it opens this door of just chasing something for happiness. And then you're caught in the loop again. You're caught in the karmic loop. And this is the problem of 99.99999% of people. It's really, really hard to get out of this loop, and it's full of so much suffering. But when a devotee or when a person comes to the point where they're doing things for Krishna, they start to become self-satisfied. Atmaram. Before the materialists, they're trying to be satisfied externally. So one step more than that, like the jnanis and yogis, they also realize, okay, the external things, they're not going to bring me satisfaction. So the yogis also, they try to become satisfied amongst themselves internally. And so do the jnanis. And their existence, it becomes purified through their tapasya, or through their own merit, their own potency, which is very rare for somebody to be able to do that, or through knowledge, because knowledge is very, very purifying. So their existence becomes purified in that way, but it doesn't become the most purified. It doesn't become the most purified until it comes in contact with the most pure. Om apavitra pavitra vastavistam katopiva yatsmrit pundarikaksam syabhyanta yantarasuchi. If one remembers lotus-eyed Pundarik Aksha, Krishna, then he is automatically, Pundarik Aksha is the most pure. If he remembers the most pure, automatically he becomes pure both inside and outside. So the third stage, or the last stage in the purification, is to connect everything with Krishna, and then in that way we become the most pure. So there's this big long list that Krishna gives in the Gita, starting with humility. There's like 20 things or something he gives. Humility, pridelessness, non-violence, tolerance, simplicity, approaching a bona fide spiritual master, cleanliness, steadiness, self-control, renunciation of the objects of sense gratification, abstinence of the false ego, the perception of the veil of birth, death, old age and disease, detachment, freedom from entanglement with children, wife, home, and the rest, even-mindedness amid pleasant and unpleasant events, constant and unalloyed devotion to me, aspiring to live in a solitary place, detachment from the general mass of people, accepting the importance of self-realization, and the philosophical search for the absolute truth. All these I declare to be knowledge, and besides this, whatever there may be is ignorance. So I was mentioning how knowledge is the purifying agent, and Krishna, he's declaring all of these things listed to be knowledge. So one time, we were having our nightly Bhagavad Gita class, and Maharaj was asking, out of these 20 things listed, what is the most important? And a few of the bhaktas tried raising their hand, and I had posed that I had thought the importance of acceptance of the self-realization was the most important, and Maharaj said no, that this is not the most important. And I was wondering, because I thought self-realization, isn't that what we're here to do? This is very important. But he was saying the devotees, they don't consider these last two, the philosophical search for the absolute truth and the importance of self-realization, to be very important. Because the devotees, they've already turned to Krishna, and they know that Krishna is already the absolute truth. They don't need to be searching for the absolute truth. So the importance of accepting realization, that's he was saying, is not one of the most important for the devotee. We've already given ourselves to Krishna, and that is our self-realization. To make like a separate attempt or a separate endeavor, we don't need to do. Because Jivera Srupara Krishna and Nityadas, we're already situated perfectly if we're a devotee, and if we are trying to endeavor to do everything for Krishna. Anyway, different, just something I remembered, how we develop, right? Different things we learn. That was my consciousness at the time. Oh, the most important thing must be self-realization. But Maharaj was saying, no, we already have that taken care of if we're doing everything for Krishna. And there's really no other literatures like these that are kicking out all the other material constructs and concepts of life. It's really the best thing available, and it's really what most people want. We just have to learn to present it palatably, and most people will take to this. If they're honest with themselves and they've really done any internal searching at all, that they'll take to this path. But it's just a matter of time before they can take to it. And it's up to us to present it palatably and know, like, okay, this person, he's in these modes of nature, so he might need to hear it in this specific way. It's not that everyone can hear it presented in the mode of goodness, like, so perfectly. Sometimes we have to be, a little lenient with people and a little, like, laid back when we're presenting it with the people on the street. We don't know who they are. They're covered over to a degree, but that's the beauty of this Krishna consciousness movement. You never know who you're talking to, and you never know the next person who's going to come to the door, who he really is. Very special. Okay, dear devotees, thank you for being so patient and hearing from Srimad Bhagavatam. Does anyone have any corrections or comments or questions? Atabar Gauranga. Oh. Yeah. Yeah. Always remember and never forget them. Yeah. If you're already remembering Krishna, that is our self-realization. I guess was the point. So yeah, that's the most important. And all of the others, they work as like catalysts to do that, right? Humility, pridelessness. Mm. Mm. Try. Narumuni made the point that in a purport, Srila Prabhupada makes the point that a pure devotee is somebody who just wants to do things for the pleasure of Krishna. Okay, any other comments? Okay, thank you for hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.